My friend demanded I babysit her kids every weekend for free because you don't have children, so you have the time. When I refused, she dropped them off anyway and drove off, yelling, "You'll thank me for the experience." My doorbell camera captured it all as I called child services and said, "Then let's see who really needs a lesson in responsibility." So this happened over the last few months, and honestly, it still feels like a fever dream. I, 38 female, live alone in a quiet neighborhood in the suburbs of Austin, Texas. I work from home as a freelance graphic designer. I don't have kids, never wanted any, and that's always been clear with everyone who knows me. I love my peace, my coffee in the mornings, my weekend walks around Lady Bird Lake, and the quiet in my house. A while back, I reconnected with an old friend from college, Rachel, 39 female. We weren't super close back in the day, but we had a few classes together, same dorm hall, that kind of thing. She added me on Facebook, sent a few messages, and eventually suggested we catch up. I thought, why not? We met up at a local coffee shop. She looked tired, like full-time mom, full-time job, running on fumes tired. She has 2 kids, 5 and 7. We talked about work, life, the usual stuff. I was polite, and I did genuinely feel a little bad when she started venting about how exhausted she was. She made a few comments here and there about how easy it must be to not have kids, how much time I must have, how relaxing my weekends must be. I let it slide. People project their stress all the time. I didn't think much of it, but then she started calling more often. At first, it was friendly, but soon, the calls turned into requests. She needed help. Could I watch the kids for just a couple hours while she ran errands? She said she had a doctor's appointment and couldn't take them. I had nothing major planned, so I said yes. I figured it's one afternoon. I'll be nice. That first time, the kids were all right. A little loud, full of energy, but no real trouble. I gave them snacks, put on a movie, played a board game. It was fine. She came back 4 hours later, thanked me, and left. The next weekend, she called again. This time it was a quick grocery run. I had plans to do laundry and clean the house, but whatever, I said okay. She dropped them off and didn't come back for 5 hours. It became a routine. Every weekend, she'd call or text last minute and ask if I could watch her kids. It went from, "Can you help me out?" to, "Hey, I'm dropping the kids off at 11. I started telling her no. I had plans. I needed rest. She'd get huffy, say things like, "But you're home anyway," or "You don't even have to do anything." I stood my ground. One weekend, I said no. She texted me Friday night asking if I could take the kids Saturday. I told her I had a brunch scheduled and then was going to check out a local art exhibit. She didn't reply. Saturday morning, 10:03 a.m., my doorbell rang. I checked my doorbell camera. It was Rachel. I answered through the mic, "Hey, what's going on?" She waved at the camera and said, "I know you said you had plans, but this will be good for you. You need the experience." I kid you not, she turned to her kids, told them, "Say hi to Auntie Sarah," and walked back to her car. The kids were just standing there with backpacks. She drove off. I stood there staring at the live feed, stunned. I opened the door. The kids were like, "Mom said we're staying with you today." I didn't even know what to do. I didn't want to take it out on the kids. They were just doing what their mom said. I let them inside and gave them cereal while I tried to figure out what the hell just happened. I called Rachel. No answer. I texted. Nothing. I called again. Voicemail. Around 11, I sent her a final message. "If you don't pick up your kids in the next 30 minutes, I'm calling CPS." No response. I waited. I gave them paper to draw on and turned on a cartoon. At 11:45, I made the call. I reported what happened, explained I wasn't a legal guardian, that the mother had abandoned the children at my house without permission, and that I had video proof. They took it seriously. An agent arrived a couple hours later. I handed over the kids and the footage. I gave my full report and told them everything that happened over the last few weeks. About 30 minutes after the agent left, Rachel finally texted me. All it said was, "How dare you?" Then the calls started. Over and over. Angry texts. Accusations. Telling me I was heartless. That I had traumatized her kids. That I ruined her life. She told everyone on Facebook that I stole her children and called CPS for no reason. She painted herself like a victim. I stayed quiet until people started messaging me, asking what happened. I uploaded the full doorbell video. Her dumping the kids, yelling, "You'll thank me for the experience," and driving off. I posted a caption that said, "Rachel left her children on my doorstep after I told her no." I called child services because I am not a babysitter. I am not their parent. I was not given a choice. You tell me if I did the wrong thing. The response was instant. Her little support group dried up fast. People were shocked. Some apologized for thinking I overreacted. A few moms even messaged me saying Rachel had done similar stuff to them in the past, but they had been too afraid to speak up. She stopped messaging me after that. I heard through the grapevine she's under investigation. Her kids are staying with her sister while CPS works out next steps. Do I feel guilty? A little. Not for calling CPS, but for trusting her in the first place. I thought I was helping a friend. Turns out, I was just a free daycare she thought she could control. I've changed my locks, put up privacy fencing, and muted her on everything. I don't regret calling CPS. I regret not doing it sooner. A week passed without a word from Rachel. No calls, no texts. The silence was loud, but I needed it. I was just starting to feel normal again when I got a knock at the door. Not the doorbell, an actual knock. Sharp, fast, angry. It was Rachel's sister, Gina. She looked tired and angry and had a sleeping toddler on her hip, must have been her own kid. She didn't even say hi, just launched in. "You know, you really didn't have to go that far," she hissed. "You think you're some kind of hero? You blew up her whole life." I told her I wasn't going to argue on my front porch, especially not with a baby present. But she pushed through the door like she lived here. Just walked in. I should have stopped her, but I was so stunned I just froze. She sat down in my living room like it was hers and said, "Rachel messed up. Yeah. But you could have just waited. You knew she was stressed. She's got no help, no support, and she thought you were her friend." I stared at her, trying to keep my voice steady. She left her kids at my door. Without permission. Then vanished for hours. What if I wasn't home? What if something happened? Gina scoffed, like I was being dramatic. "She knew you were home. She knows your schedule. She thought you'd understand." And that's when I realized something I hadn't before. Rachel had been watching me. Maybe not in a creepy stalker way, but close enough. She knew when I usually walked the trail. When I ordered groceries. When I worked. When I didn't. She'd been studying my life like a schedule she could slide her chaos into. That chilled me. I told Gina to leave. She didn't fight me. Just gave me a look like I was some cold-hearted villain, then walked out, muttering, "You'll see. You've messed with the wrong one." 2 days later, my car tires were slashed. All 4. "The tow truck," I said. "You make someone mad or something. This doesn't look random." I filed a police report. Gave them Rachel's name, and Gina's, and the whole backstory. I had no proof they did it, but I knew. Then weird stuff started happening. My mailbox was stuffed with trash. Empty baby formula containers, used diapers in Ziploc bags, a crumpled drawing from one of her kids that said, "I miss you, Auntie." I stopped answering the door. I kept the curtains shut. I even stayed with a friend across town for a few days, just to breathe. But it didn't stop. The kicker? Someone submitted a complaint to the HOA, saying I was running an unlicensed daycare out of my home. Said there were dozens of kids coming and going, and that I was disturbing the peace of the neighborhood. I laughed when I read it. I laughed. until I realized it meant Rachel was trying to ruin my reputation. The HOA scheduled a review. I had to explain, in detail, with video proof, that I was not running a daycare. I showed them the footage, the timestamps, the CPS report, everything. They cleared me, but I could tell the damage was done. Neighbors were whispering. Some gave me those looks, the kind where they pretend to smile, but really they're judging. I caught one neighbor filming me when I took out my trash. Another asked if I was still taking kids. Still. I deleted my social media. I blocked Rachel's number. I even changed my email after I started getting messages with nothing but crying emojis in the subject line. Then, out of nowhere, I got a visit from a lawyer. A real one. He handed me a thick envelope. Rachel was suing me for emotional distress. Said I had falsely reported her to CPS, humiliated her publicly, and caused irreparable damage to her family and mental health. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to do. I was shaking as I read through the papers. Her lawyer was painting her as a struggling mother who made a desperate mistake and was now being publicly shamed by a former friend with a personal vendetta against mothers. The lawsuit made it sound like I hated moms. That I had some anti-kid agenda. Like I was some kind of monster. But the worst part? She had screenshots of our old texts. Messages where I had casually said, "Sure, I don't mind watching them, and I'm not doing anything major this weekend," and even one where I said, "Anytime you need help, I got you." Those were from way back. From the early days, before things got insane. And they were using them to show I had agreed to a pattern of care. I called a lawyer of my own. It cost me more than I want to admit, just to get someone decent. He told me it would probably get tossed, but in the meantime, I had to prepare a formal response. So now, not only was I being stalked and harassed, I was being dragged through the legal mud because I dared to say no, because I tried to protect myself, because I didn't want to be an unpaid babysitter. Every time I think it can't get worse, it does. I started documenting everything, every piece of trash in the mailbox, every suspicious car parked near my house, every anonymous note left on my door. Even the random baby shoes I found on my porch one morning. I started keeping a journal, just in case. I bought cameras for every angle of the house. I got a dog, not for company, for protection. And through it all, I haven't seen Rachel once in person. She's hiding behind others, behind the court, behind passive-aggressive messages and fake accusations. But I can feel it. She's waiting, plotting. And she's not done with me yet. A month passed. Things started to quiet down, or so I thought. No more trash in the mailbox. No new random diaper gifts. No mysterious HOA complaints. The lawsuit was still pending, but even that felt like it had been put on pause. My lawyer said their side missed a deadline, and the judge was giving them another chance. It was annoying, but I was grateful for the temporary silence. I tried to settle back into a routine. Got back to work. Started going on early morning walks again, just when the sun came up and no one was around. I didn't trust the neighborhood the way I used to, but I was trying to take back some peace. Then one morning, I came back to find the side door of my house open. It was locked when I left. I was sure of it. I didn't go in. I backed away, called 911, and waited in my car with the dog while the cops did a sweep. No one inside. No damage. Nothing taken. But the door had been jimmied. Someone used something to pop the lock. The officer said maybe it was a break-in attempt that went wrong, or maybe someone was trying to send a message. I knew exactly what it was. I added even more cameras. Motion sensors. Reinforced locks. I stopped sleeping without the hallway light on. But the worst came later. A week after the break-in, I got a visit from a woman I didn't recognize. She looked frazzled, hair in a messy bun, clothes that looked like she slept in them. She had a folder in her hand. I cracked the door open and said, "Can I help you?" She said, "I need to talk to you. It's about Rachel." My heart dropped. She introduced herself as Monica. She said she used to work with Rachel back before Rachel had her second kid. They'd been close, but Monica had cut her off a few years back after something happened. I let her talk. She said Rachel had done this before. Used people for babysitting. Guilt-tripped them. Once left her kid at Monica's place while she went out drinking and disappeared for 10 hours. Monica never reported it because she didn't want to get her in trouble, but she regretted it now. She does this thing, Monica said, where she tests how far she can push people. And if you push back, she makes you the enemy. Monica opened the folder. Inside were printed screenshots, photos, even a few old emails. Proof that Rachel had pulled the same stunt with at least 3 other women. One of them moved out of state after filing a restraining order. Another ended up in therapy for months. But none of them ever pressed charges. None of them ever called child services. They just wanted to escape. You're the first person who fought back, Monica said. She's obsessed with you now. Like, fixated. I asked why she was telling me all this. She's not going to stop, she said quietly. And I think she's planning something worse. I pressed her for details, but she didn't have any. Just said that Rachel had been spiraling, posting vague things on social media about making people learn and teaching selfish women what real sacrifice looks like. Monica gave me her number and told me to call her if anything else happened. Then she left, and I was alone again, with 100 new alarms going off in my head. The next morning, I found a pacifier on my doorstep. Just one, clean, placed neatly on the mat. 2 days later, my dog got sick. Real sick. Vomiting, shaking, wouldn't eat. I rushed her to the emergency vet. They asked if she could have gotten into something poisonous. I ransacked my house. Nothing. Checked the yard, the porch, everything. Then I found it. A piece of half-eaten chicken wedged behind the fence. Laced with something. I don't even want to know what. The vet saved my dog. Barely. I handed over the chicken to the police. They took it for testing but didn't promise much. Without video proof, they said, it'd be hard to pin it on anyone. I pulled up all my security footage. Hours and hours of nothing, until I saw it. At 3:12 a.m. the night before, someone walked past the house. Hooded, small frame, fast. They paused at the gate, crouched, and left something behind. The camera caught their shape, but not their face. I sent it to the police anyway. And then I sat in the dark for a long time. Monica was right. Rachel wasn't done. She was escalating. I started sleeping in shifts, like I was on watch duty. I kept a bat by the bed. My lawyer filed for a restraining order. We attached the footage, the dog poisoning, the police reports. The judge approved it, temporarily. But serving her wasn't easy. Her address on file? Fake. Her job? Quit. No one knew where she was. It was like she vanished into smoke. Until she didn't. Because then I got a package. No return address. Just my name, handwritten in messy blue marker. Inside was a single page. It was a drawing. Crayon. Stick figures. One looked like me. The other was a kid. The me stick figure was crying. The kid had an arrow pointing down. A speech bubble said, "You'll cry like I do." That's when I knew. She was trying to make me feel what she thought I'd made her feel. She wanted revenge. Not just petty revenge. Real, deep, life-ruining revenge. And I wasn't going to let her win. I took the drawing straight to the police. They added it to the file but didn't do much else. No fingerprints. No solid evidence tying it to Rachel. It was just one more thing in a growing pile of threats with no face behind them. But I had reached my breaking point. No more sitting around. No more waiting for the next sick joke, the next scare tactic, the next ghost of Rachel's grudge. I called Monica again. I told her everything. She hesitated but finally gave me the name of someone who might know where Rachel was staying, an ex-boyfriend who still lived on the east side of town. She said he hated Rachel's guts now and would probably talk if I asked the right way. I didn't go alone. I took my friend Marco with me. He's built like a wall and doesn't ask too many questions. We showed up at the guy's house around 6 p.m. It was hot, sticky outside, and I was sweating from nerves, not the weather. His name was Kyle. Looked rough. Eyes sunken, clothes wrinkled, chain smoker type. At first he denied knowing anything. Said Rachel was long gone, that she'd left town after the CPS thing. I was about to leave when I saw the toddler shoes. Same exact kind that had been left on my porch weeks ago. I pointed. She's here, isn't she? He froze. Marco stepped forward just enough to make his presence known. Not threatening. Just standing big. Kyle folded. She's been crashing here off and on. Keeps saying she's working on something big. She's not right in the head. Where is she right now? He rubbed his face. Some church group or shelter thing up in Pflugerville. Told me she'd be back tonight. Said she had one last gift for you. That's when it clicked. She was going to do something that night. Something final. I called the police. I told them everything. I said I had a witness who confirmed Rachel had been behind the harassment and might be planning something dangerous. But unless she made a direct threat, they couldn't act. They said they'd keep an eye on things. I didn't trust it. I couldn't. So I went home. I checked every lock, every camera. I kept the lights on. I didn't sleep. Marco stayed over on the couch. At 2:37 a.m., my phone lit up. Doorbell camera notification. Someone at the front door. It was Rachel. She was holding a baby carrier. I ran to the monitor. There was no baby in it. Just a doll. She looked straight into the camera and whispered something. Then she walked away. I didn't open the door. I didn't call the cops. Not yet. I waited. 10 minutes later, there was a bang on the side of the house. Then another at the back. She was circling. I grabbed the bat. Marco was already at the back window. We both saw her shadow flicker across the yard. He started to call 911. That's when the front window shattered. She'd thrown a rock. Followed by another. Then silence. Then a scream. Not mine. Hers. She tripped one of the motion sensors near the garage and got sprayed in the face with pepper solution from a mounted canister I had installed after the dog incident. She wailed like a banshee. Marco ran out, tackled her, held her until the police came. She was still screaming when they cuffed her. Not from pain. From fury. You ruined me. You'll never be free from me. Never. They charged her with trespassing, harassment, attempted breaking and entering, and endangerment. But the real kicker came from Monica again. She found an old friend who had kept a secret backup of Rachel's private messages from a shared device they once used for some mom vlog project. There were emails. To Gina. To Kyle. Even to people she barely knew. Messages full of twisted plans. What she'd make me feel. What she thought I owed her. How she planned to make me beg to babysit, just to make it stop. She even had a list called Sarah's Lessons, where she listed punishments she thought I deserved for living free while she suffered. We gave it all to the police. The DA got involved. The lawsuit she filed against me? Dropped immediately. Her lawyer quit. Rachel was ordered into a psychiatric hold, followed by criminal court. She pled guilty to multiple charges. She's serving time now, with mandatory mental health treatment. Her kids? Taken by CPS. Eventually placed with a distant cousin. They're safe now. Gina tried to spin it like I drove Rachel crazy, like I didn't show enough compassion. But no one was buying it anymore. I wasn't a perfect person. I should have seen the signs sooner. I should have set firm boundaries earlier. Maybe even reported her the very first time she crossed the line. I let guilt and politeness keep me silent, and that silence almost cost me everything. I don't walk the trails anymore. I moved to a new neighborhood. Different side of town. Changed my phone number. Got a new dog, too. But sometimes, late at night, when I hear the wind rattle a window or a creak in the floor, I still freeze. Because even though she's locked up, I'll always remember how far one person's bitterness can go, and how fast peace can be ripped away when someone thinks you owe them your life. Never again.